like to move on now to issues around circularity that Ralph started, that Ralph mentioned at the outset. And we have exactly the right person to talk about it, and that's Joanne Godard, who's Executive Director of the Recycling Council of Ontario. We don't do a good enough job in this space, and it seems like there's lots of low-hanging fruit, Joanne. So what would you recommend to really kick the circularity off and in the future? Joanne? We lost Joanne?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Sorry, you must have been on mute. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Diana, and thanks to Corporate Knights for the opportunity this afternoon to participate. It's really interesting to hear the broad and attention and support for the advancement of the circular economy. It's happening globally, obviously. And in the last, I would say 2 years, we're really seeing a fervor around this discussions in the Canadian context. We were poised to host the World Circular Economy Forum here in the fall of 2020. Unfortunately, that's going to be pushed into 2021 given the pandemic, but certainly that's an indicator that we see the advantages, the benefits in the triple bottom line areas around the circular economy and how important it is for us to stop living in this linear as take, make, and dispose kind of economy that we've been used to. And it's interesting that, you know, Ralph's comments about the waste industry being the fastest growing of all of the industries in Canada 3 times is, I think, the statistic that he offered us. And that's probably due to the fact that disposal in Canada is relatively inexpensive. In fact, some of the cheapest disposal in the world happens here because we are such a vast nation with so much empty space. And unfortunately, that causes us to have a discrepancy between the cost of disposal over the cost of recycling. So we're starting the situation with economic disparity from the get-go. And over the last number of years, we've really been reliant upon offshore recycling solutions. So we do a lot of collection, we do a lot of staging, we have a lot of material recycling facilities here that sort materials to almost perfection, and then we go ahead and sell them to offshore buyers where there are most of the manufacturing around the globe is happening. And unfortunately, what that has done has basically depleted any of our true recycling processors here. We don't support them in the way that we should, and really the resource recovery industries need sustainable and quality supplies and demand conditions for them to thrive. Really, those are the bedrock conditions for a thriving domestic recycling industry, and we just haven't have the support that we've needed. So in order for us to really improve the economics of recycling, we're really talking about 3 distinct measures. And the first that we want to put forward is this opportunity that's been talked about already in this webinar, which is procurement, not just as it relates to government procurement, of course, $200 billion annually in all governments, not just feds, but 80% of that coming in from the municipal level means that we have incredible buying power at government levels to connect the broader public policy objectives, environment, social, and economic, and we could be driving that through procurement decisions. And we haven't obviously been doing that with low carbon economies or transitioning to a circular economy. So there is a direct and untapped opportunity that's been recognized. And I have to echo the support of others in that. And I guess not just drafting the policies, but actually seeing it through with proper scoring and evaluations and follow through. And in fact, verification that the kinds of businesses that we are defining green and trying to pull green results or products from, we're actually verifying that. And very little of that is actually happening in a Canadian context. And I think governments are poised to lead the way and lead by example, quite frankly. And then on the policy front, really requiring our supply chains, our manufacturers, our packagers of goods and services right here in Canada to require circular innovation solutions through supply chain requirements. And so really trickling those requirements right through supply chains as well. So we'd like to see a bolstering of recycled content. We'd like to see that mandated, starting with government and then through to the private sector as well. And that's really going to stimulate the domestic recycling processing community right here in Canada. And then I would say, Toby mentioned it in the opening, but to supplement and support that, we'd want to see bans from disposal. We've got this inequity in the cost of disposal over recycling in Canada, so it is cheaper to dispose at the moment. So we need supplemental policies like harmonized EPR across the country, and bans of materials that we have capacity to recycle here in Canada, so that we are, again, looping right back to providing our recycling industries with that sustainable and quality supply of materials that we require. And quite frankly, if they've got that with strong demand through procurement, we are setting them up for success.